Do you know the feeling? It always starts the same way. You take a trade, you follow your plan to the letter. The setup looks absolutely perfect, but then it just doesn't work out. The market turns on a dime, your stop gets hit. You take that small planned loss. It's okay, you tell yourself. It's part of the game. But then it happens again. And suddenly, that calm, cool focus starts to burn. Your chest gets a little tight, and a little voice in your head says, I'm gonna get it back. That right there, that's the moment the real danger begins.
So let's really unpack this, because this one idea, it's literally what separates the traders who make it from those who just wash out. We are talking about revenge trading, the silent killer that doesn't live in your charts or your strategy, but deep inside your own emotions.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break down exactly what this thing is, what's literally happening inside your brain when it strikes, how to spot the early warning signs, and most importantly, the exact tools you can use to build a new, professional-level response.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. What is this force that can make an otherwise disciplined, smart trader suddenly toss their entire rulebook right out the window?
At its core, it's a psychological trap. Plain and simple. You're not trading your strategy anymore. You're trading your pain. Your goal isn't to execute your plan perfectly. It's just to make the bad feeling go away, to erase that sting of being wrong. And this right here is how a tiny, totally acceptable loss can ignite a fire that burns down your entire account.
To really get how this works, let's walk through a real-world downward spiral. We'll call our trader Mike. And look, Mike's story is basically every trader's story, just on a different day with a different chart. It's kind of scary how fast things can completely fall apart.
So Mike kicks off his Monday morning just right. He takes a planned trade, it hits his stop, a small 1% loss. No big deal, right? That's business as usual. But then that little voice starts whispering, "You were right, you were just too early." So he jumps back in, only this time he doubles his size. Bam, another loss. Now you can just feel that frustration building, can't you? At this point, logic has packed its bags and left the building. He completely abandons his plan and throws a wild, emotional panic trade on gold, a market he wasn't even supposed to be looking at. By the end of the day, that single 1% loss has cascaded into a devastating 23% drawdown. He didn't just bend his rules, he shattered them.
Now, what happened to Mike? That wasn't a failure of strategy. It was a failure of biology. See, to stop revenge trading, you first have to understand why it feels so damn irresistible in the first place. Every single trader who's ever had a disastrous day has asked this. You know you shouldn't click the mouse. You are screaming at yourself inside your head, don't do it. But you do it anyway. The reason isn't because you're weak or lack willpower. It's because your brain is running a very, very old software program.
This slide shows it perfectly. When you take a loss, your emotional brain, the amygdala, completely hijacks the system. It's your ancient alarm, and it's screaming, threat, danger. And when it's screaming, your rational brain, the smart, analytical part, it gets shoved into the back seat. It's still there, begging you to stop, but it's not driving the car anymore.
And it's all fueled by this potent chemical mix. You've got adrenaline and cortisol flooding your system, putting you in full-on survival mode. But the real villain of the story? It's dopamine. Because if you happen to get lucky and win one of those wild revenge trades, your brain gets this massive, incredible hit of dopamine. It's like hitting the jackpot on a slot machine. And that feel-good rush teaches your brain a terrible, terrible lesson. Hey, when I feel pain, maybe gambling is the answer. And that's exactly how the addictive loop gets started.
Okay, so we know our brains are kind of hardwired to do this. So how do we catch it happening in real time? Well, the key is to learn the tells, to recognize the signs, because honestly, awareness is your single greatest weapon in this fight.
It almost always starts with that feeling of urgency, that desperate need to fix the loss right now. Then you start breaking your rules, just a little at first. I'll just move my stop this one time. You start sizing up out of fear, not out of a good setup. Your inner voice changes. Suddenly, the market isn't a stream of probabilities, it's your enemy. It's an opponent you have to beat. But maybe the most dangerous sign of all is when you go numb. When you take another loss and you don't feel anything, that's not discipline. That is emotional burnout, and it's a massive red flag telling you to shut it down for the day, immediately.
So spotting the signs is step one, but what do you actually do in that moment? Look, you can't just think your way out of an emotional spiral. You have to train your way out with a new set of pre-planned actions.
All right, write this down. This is your new fire drill for every single loss. The second it happens, 1. Pause. Hands off the mouse. Just create a tiny bit of space between the feeling and your next action. 2. Breathe. 3 deep, slow breaths. This isn't some mystical thing, it's biological. It literally calms your nervous system and helps bring your rational brain back online. 3. Journal. Just one sentence. I feel angry, or I feel stupid. Naming the emotion strips it of its power over you. And only then, after those 3 steps, are you allowed to reassess. Now you've moved from pure reaction to a conscious response.
And this is so powerful. It's all about the story you choose to tell yourself. Your brain's first draft is, I need to win it back. Your job is to edit that to, I need to protect the capital I still have. You weren't wrong on that last trade, you simply gathered more data. See the shift? You're not lying to yourself, you're just taking control of the narrative and choosing a story that actually empowers you to make better decisions.
Look, professionals don't rely on willpower in the heat of the moment. That's a losing game. They build systems. They set hard, non-negotiable rules before the market even opens. My max loss today is X. They have mandatory cooldowns. 2 losses in a row, I walk away for 15 minutes, no exceptions. And they use what's called arresting language. Before you click that mouse, you ask yourself one simple question. If this trade fails, am I going to kick myself for taking it? If the answer is even a maybe, you know it's an emotional trade, not a strategic one.
And all of this, all these tools and tactics, they lead to the ultimate goal, which is to shift your entire identity as a trader. We're moving beyond just tactics now and into how you fundamentally see yourself and your relationship with the market.
This slide just lays out the divide so clearly. The amateur, they see a loss as a personal failure, an insult. The professional sees it as feedback, as valuable data. The amateur is chasing that adrenaline rush, that excitement. The professional, they're actually seeking boredom, the quiet satisfaction of just executing their plan flawlessly over and over again. It's a huge shift from trying to be right to simply trying to be disciplined and manage risk when you're wrong.
Now this is the whole game, right here. Get this tattooed on your brain. If you followed your rules, if you managed your risk correctly and the trade still lost, that was a successful trade. Why? Because you executed your process perfectly. The outcome was just random chance. The minute you start judging your success based on your discipline instead of your P&L, that's when you know you're becoming a pro.
And let's be super clear. You're never going to stop feeling that flash of frustration after a loss. You're human. The goal isn't to become a robot. Mastery isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about being aware of them. It's about recognizing them, giving them a name, and then not letting them grab the steering wheel. You can listen to the message without having to obey the command.
So maybe we can look at it a different way. Maybe that impulse to revenge trade isn't actually your enemy. Maybe it's a signal, a message from the market that your risk is too high or your expectations are out of line, or maybe that your self-worth is too tangled up in your trading results. And when you see it that way, well, then the market becomes your greatest teacher on the path to mastering yourself.
Let's be honest, every single trader has had a Mike day. We've all been there. The real question is, what did you do the next day? How did you learn from it? This journey from revenge to resilience is one that every successful trader has to make. So I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. What's your go-to strategy for staying cool and disciplined after taking a loss? Let's talk about it.